Good morning.
Afternoon, right? Is it morning? I guess it might depend on where some of you all are. I think we have some folks joining from everywhere.
Yeah, it is afternoon. I'm sorry, I'm still.
I think we've still got some folks jumping into the waiting room, so it might just be a minute here while we let everybody hop on, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
Good morning, this is Jewel.
Good morning, Jewel. We are letting folks hop on and get settled, and we'll get started in just a couple minutes.
How's that screen share looking? Is everybody seeing a PowerPoint?
Yes.
That's great news.
Jackie, are you doing the waiting room or is Deb?
I am, and it looks, it's been a moment or two since anybody's hopped in.
Okay.
So it's up to you whenever you're ready. I think we could go, and I'll keep an eye in case anybody joins a minute or two late here.
Perfect, so we can go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the WIOA Title I Youth Services Bidders Conference. My name is Corinne Watts. I'm the Director of Workforce Services for PacMtn. We have a pretty good agenda today, but first I wanted to start with some introductions. So if you can put your name and organization and title in the chat box, we can go ahead and get started with that, and then that gives us an opportunity also to make sure that we write down contact information for anybody that has joined today as well. While you're doing that, I'm going to update my name because I am not sure what background. I just noticed that she was in here prior to me doing a consortium meeting. So let me rename myself. And we'll get started with introductions. All right. So I'll just go go in order of what I see in the chat. James Hughes, can you do an introduction?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is James Hughes. I'm with Career Team here in Pierce County.
Good afternoon. Matt Sneed.
Good afternoon. My name is Matt Sneed. I'm with the Equus Workforce Solutions. I'm the regional director.
Wade. Wade, how do you say your last name?
Ueda.
Ueda.
Wade Ueda, Youth Programs Manager at Grub, based here in Olympia.
Welcome. Dan Cooling.
I am Dan Cooling. I am the Workforce Youth Program Operations Supervisor with the Equus team.
Welcome. Anthony Terlizzi.
Hi everyone, I'm Anthony Terlizzi. I'm the Chief Performance Officer with Career Team.
Good afternoon. Cheryl Brown.
Good afternoon, everyone. Cheryl Brown, Executive Director of Grace Harbor Youth Works out here at the beach.
At the beach, it's a nice day to be at the beach.
Yeah, since we're done here, I'm out there.
Yeah. Jessica Brasher.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jessica Brasher. I am the program operator for the adult and dislocated worker programs here in PacMtn, and I work with Career Path Services.
Awesome. Jessica Williams.
Hi there, I'm Jessica Williams, I'm Senior Project Coordinator with Capital Region ESD 113. My largest project right now is Gravity.
Welcome, Jessica. Elton.
Hi everyone, I'm Elton James, a Director of Equity and Priority Population here at PacMtn.
Casey Loftus.
Good afternoon, Casey Loftus, Director of Workforce Development for Career Path Services.
Charlie Bailey.
Hi there, Charlie Bailey. I am a project director with Equus Workforce Solutions, and I'm currently the head of the WIOA Youth Program at PacMtn.
Jewel Hardy.
Hello, I am chair of a local nonprofit here in Pacific County, Alliance for a Better Community. We've worked with PacMtn before, sponsoring different classes and free tuition at our local college annex.
Welcome. Katie Miles.
Yeah, my name is Katie Miles. I'm the Youth Programs Manager at Goodwill of Olympics and Rainier region. We cover a 15-county region that includes the PacMtn region.
Welcome. Nancy Stephen.
Hello, this is Nancy Steffen. I'm with Bright Spring Health Services as Proposal Manager, helping out Equus Workforce Solutions.
Welcome, Nancy. Mary Nicholson.
Hi, good afternoon. Mary Nicholson. I'm the Program Manager for the Adult and Dislocated Worker Programs in PacMtn, and I'm with Career Path Services.
And Nate Mazuka.
Hey everybody, Nate Mazuka. I am the Western Washington Regional Director for Career Path Services, and I'm glad to be here. Thanks.
Is there anybody else?
I am Lynn Nelson. I'm the Director of Health Services and Student Support at ESD 113.
Hi, Lynn.
Hi. I'm Megan Feast. I'm the VP for Workforce and Strategic Initiatives at the Thurston County Chamber of Commerce and the current Business Solutions Contractor for the PacMtn region.
Hi, Megan. Susan Turner.
I'm Susan Turner. I'm a Proposal Manager with Bright Spring Health Services, also working with Equus Workforce Solutions.
Is there anybody else?
Hi, I'm Sade Gilliam. I am the Grants Manager at Grub, working with Wade.
Hi, Sade.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jackie. I work for PacMtn as a Senior Program Coordinator of Workforce Contracts. So I'm somebody who will probably be interfacing with a lot of you for questions and some other things along the way. So I figured I better say hi.
Hi, Jackie. Sorry. And then Deb. I know that Deb's on the call too. I don't want to forget about the PacMtn folks.
Hi, everyone. Deb Bound, PacMtn, Program Assistant 3. And you may interact with me for a variety of reasons, but just here to support today.
Thank you, Deb. Did I miss anybody?
If you're someone who hopped on a minute or two late, if you also don't mind just tossing your name and title into the chat, that would be a big help for us to capture for later.
Yeah, we want to make sure that any additional communication gets out to the participants on this call as well. All right, so the agenda for today, we just covered the introductions, but we're also going to cover the RFP priorities. A lot of those were mentioned in our the introduction to services that we did in December, but we're going to go over those again today for those of you that could not attend that introduction. We're going to go over the application process. We'll do the question and answer protocol, just so you know how the questions need to be asked and or answered. And then lastly, we'll do what we're here for, and that's let you guys ask any questions related to the RFP. Sounds good. Let's get started. Just a reminder of the eligible organizations that can submit for proposals: any government agencies or private nonprofit organizations, private for-profit business, or educational entities. Go over the RFP priorities. And this is really the broad vision for the PY21 through 24 youth services procurement cycle. These are the things that have changed since our last procurement cycle that we started in PY16, but we really thought it was important to highlight the following. The first one is the demonstrated commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion in all facets of work. The second is continued commitment to developing effective outreach and bidirectional referral capacity with internal workforce partners and external community partners. The third is to focus on development of customer data tracking to inform and close gaps in system reach and accessibility for youth. And lastly, the partnership with My Job, it's My Journey Out Beyond, a PacMtn program serving youth who are incarcerated with professional development, training, and opportunities, workforce development opportunities. All right, so things you might wonder about while you're completing your proposal to see if you're thinking that if your proposal is aligning with the PacMtn vision. Some things that you might want to consider are, what does your commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion look like? So what does that look like within your own organization? What does that look like when you're prioritizing needs of customers with the most significant barriers to employment? What does that look like in any data tracking strategies that you have to do continuous improvement of service delivery, of quality, of relevance, and accessibility to the workforce system? What does that look like in specific strategies to connect with groups who experience barriers to accessing workforce services and other vital services in the region? And then lastly, what does that look like in your creative use of technology to increase service accessibility throughout the PacMtn region, especially the remote parts of the region? So for outreach and bidirectional referral, what is your understanding of strategy for engaging other internal and external workforce system partners that serve similar populations to those eligible for WIOA youth services? What does it look like to outreach and refer to partners not previously connected or historically under-engaged with WorkSource PacMtn that could be leveraged to better serve the holistic needs of the youth in our region? Are you utilizing PacMtn partnerships, such as connection with Timberland Regional Library to ensure regional presence and access to services for even the most rural areas of the region? And are you focused on the PacMtn industry sectors, the prominent employers within those sectors that create opportunities for youth education and career path development? All right, for customer data tracking, we want to know what your commitment to garnering feedback and placing customer voice at the center of all service provision. We'd also like to hear how any kind of tracking of data above and beyond what the required federal reporting data would be. So that federal reporting data that informs the PacMtn workforce system on service accessibility for all, any data that can identify gaps in service, and then increase the workforce system fundamental understanding of PacMtn region for the youth. And then lastly, serving youth who are incarcerated. This is a population that we want to focus on. What is your understanding of or vision for the professional development services for youth who are exiting or soon to exit incarceration? For youth who might be transferring from PacMtn region detention centers, we do have 2 detention centers in our region, but we serve all three detention facilities in the state of Washington. And how might you be working with those youth that are transferring to other areas of the state that are outside of the PacMtn region? And then coordinating with partners, specifically the My Journey Out Beyond program staff, to ensure that youth who are exiting incarceration are rapidly assisted to continue their professional development and workforce development activities. All right, so we'll talk a little bit about the application process itself. The proposal packet should include a cover sheet, the certification, general and financial questions, not to exceed 5 pages single-spaced, program-specific questions, not to exceed 10 pages single-spaced. That includes the program services work plan or timeline, and then the service delivery flow chart. It also needs to include the performance outcomes form, the program budget form, past and current contracts form, and then the acknowledgement of PacMtn workforce system policy and procedures. Evaluation criteria and the weights. The technical proposal is 45% of the overall total evaluation. Financial accountability is 15%. Organizational capacity is 30%. And new to this proposal is the demonstrated internal and external commitment to DEI is 10% of the total weight. All right, the due date. Proposals are due by February 5th, 2021 at 4 p.m. All right, when we're doing review of the proposals, the successful proposal should demonstrate obviously the services that are proposed and how those services will be delivered, but how the services will be delivered flexible enough to shift with our service delivery needs that are always shifting and ongoing in the workforce system. The proposal needs to show the support for the workforce system as a structure, and then how to serve customers with innovative and effective approaches, especially around technology. All right, so the award announcement itself, it is the responsibility of the proposers to check the publication of the successful bidder. And the anticipated announcement will be around mid-March and viewable on our website. So we encourage the proposers to check back often in March to look at the updates. All right, so question and answer protocol. Please raise your hand either on Zoom camera or by clicking the hand reaction button and say your name and agency. Please give us time to write down the question. And then PacMtn staff may elect to provide an answer or defer the question if additional research and time is needed to provide a thorough response. And our official answers will be posted on the PacMtn website within 5 business days of this bidders conference. All right, additional questions after the conference are welcome. You can email to the contracts at pacmtn.org if you have questions outside the bidders conference. But questions are due by January 29th, which I believe is 10 days from now at 4 p.m. And we will publicly post to our website as quickly as possible after the receipt. All right, before we get to questions, we did have questions received in advance, and I just wanted to go through those questions now before any additional questions are asked. So question number 1 was, when will the appendices listed on page 23 be made available on your website, on the PacMtn website? And I believe after discussion with Jackie, Elton, and Deb, we are going to make those fillable forms and post them by the end of this week. Am I correct in that, Jackie?
Definitely.
Sounds good. Thank you. So those forms should be in a fillable format and posted by the close of business on Friday. Number 2, what is the expectation between in-school youth and out-of-school youth splits with this award, and what is currently being done? This typically happens with our contractor in a more organic format. So we are not a WDC that does solely out of school youth. There is a 75% overall budget that needs to be spent towards out of school youth. But we encourage in-school youth to be supported when it makes sense and do work with our contractor if there's a need to serve in-school youth. But there is an overall federal expectation that at least 75% of the youth budget will be spent on out-of-school youth. Number 3, what has been the performance of the current youth contractor the past 3 years, in addition to the federal performance expectations? So in parentheses, total served, total exits, total placements, total ITA, total WEX, and total OJT. Really, in addition to the federal performance expectations, we will always on a yearly basis negotiate with Employment Security Department on the total enrollments and total exits and placements. Could you clarify exactly what you're looking for in this question? I'd be happy to give you the current expectation for total served and total exits. I can do that in what we post back out to the folks that are in attendance, if that would be helpful. I don't really think going back 3 years is helpful, but I think just knowing currently what's happening and what's expected is fine, and we can make sure that that's posted.
That works, Corinne. Thank you.
No problem. And then what do you expect the carry-in number to be? You know, that really depends on the year. We see fluctuation in carry-in numbers. I can do an average of what the carry-in numbers were for the last few years, if that helps. But even then, it can be sometimes a little different depending on the year, especially this year. To be honest, our carry-in for going into this PY was lower than normal, and that was because of the pandemic specifically. So, but I can do an average number so that people are aware about roughly what the carry-in might not be. All right, now I'll open it up for questions and just make sure that you're following the protocol, raising your hand, making sure we're given some time to write down the question.
Corinne, if you're comfortable, Deb and I are also keeping an eye on the chat. If it feels more comfortable to toss a question in the chat, we can keep an eye on that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if that's your preferred method, we'll keep an eye out for you.
There is a question that I see from Jewel. Oh no, it just went away. Deb or Jackie, will you read it?
Yeah, I've got it. Jewel would like to know, for my job, does it also cover rehab reentry?
I don't know if I understand the question.
Jewel, do you mind telling us a little bit more about what you're curious about? Sorry about that. You're welcome to ask over voice too, if that's easier, or through chat. Either way is just fine.
So for my journey out beyond, it is pretty much focused on the juvenile detention, the state juvenile detention facilities in the state of Washington. There are 3, Nacelle, Green Hill, and Echo Glen. There might be some addiction recovery counseling that happens within that space, but we are not the providers. Of course, I think that we want to do our best when those youth get released to making sure they have wraparound supports, but as far as us providing that service, we do not. Does that answer your question? For the My Journey Out Beyond program, it's going to be important that our youth provider can offer that work readiness and continuation of, making sure that they get the connection to the WIOA youth programs and wherever they land, so that they can have those opportunities once they're released.
All right, Corinne, it looks like we've got a question from Jessica Williams with ESD 113. It is our understanding that in previous years, 14 to 24-year-olds were served, and the RFP says 16 to 24. Has the age range changed this year?
Our focus has changed. So throughout the state, we have the opportunity to serve younger than 16, even down to 14. I believe that requires a state waiver that we do not have at this time. So the focus would be 16 and above. currently we don't usually serve below 16 very often, if we have in the past. You're welcome. There are times that we'll use additional funding to support 14-year-olds. We have done that in the past, leverage other funds that are not WIOA funds to provide summer internships, for example. But it's typically not done with our WIOA dollars.
And I think, Corinne, if I could add a thought, if you kind of, as you're listening to what Corinne is saying there, and you take your mind back to those wonderings that we were mentioning earlier for RFP alignment, with one of those focuses of this cycle being outreach. And what we're able to do within the workforce system, what we really like to do is focus on things that are moving people toward employment, right? And that can't be done without thinking about every other facet of a person's life that provides stability. And so one option is for us to look at the age ranges we serve. Another is for us to look at what we provide and how we build a super robust network of partners where we're all coming together with all the right holistic services, but each kind of staying in our zone and working together, if that makes sense. So if you're wondering sometimes about services for who's eligible, that's something to think about too when you're thinking about participant fit and that kind of stuff. Does that make sense? Okay, there are a couple more questions came in here. Hold on one second, let me scroll without ruining it. Just a sec. Jewel asked, does PacMtn fund workplace excellence, and are any training sponsorships available?
So our Uplift program is based on the Workplace Excellence series. So I think the answer to your question is yes, we do. That is incorporated into our Uplift program that's specifically designed for youth, but the fundamental pieces of Uplift are based on the Workplace Excellence series. And we do provide scholarship to participate in Uplift if needed, especially for 14 or 15-year-olds. If they're not eligible, that's something that we have done in the past and will consider doing.
I also see a question. This, I think, Cheryl, I'm not sure if you meant to send it to me privately, and I think this is a good question for everyone to hear. But the question is this contract similar to what Grays Harbor Youth Works and maybe other organizations have completed with ResCare and PacMtn in previous years? I saw, just in seeing who's attending today, it sounds like there are some folks who have partnered with our youth provider from past contract years, and also with PacMtn, and it might help maybe Corinne and Elton share kind of what the relationship of this RFP has to those special projects. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, that sounds great. So in addition to our WIOA, what I call formula youth dollars, so the dollars that we get from Employment Security formulaically every year that goes out to each WDC, we are one of 12. We also might bid for additional dollars that might not come through WIOA. It might come through Department of Voc Rehab, for example. And typically what happens when we get those additional resources is that we like to braid them with our WIOA contractor and WIOA dollars whenever possible for that just additional wraparound support. So we have had, a DVR pre-ETS contract for the last 4 years that we run internships in the summer. A lot of times it makes sense for us to work with those students and then lean on our WIOA youth provider to do some leveraged funds and enroll them into the WIOA program. It's the same with my Journey Out Beyond. those students and we get those dollars from the PREETS DBR pre-employment transition services, and whenever possible, especially on the back end when they're getting ready to go into a community facility or released to their home, it makes sense for those WIOA contractors to pick up and do some of the wraparound supports. Yeah. Jackie, does that clarify? I don't know who asked that question.
I think it should. I think if you are here attending maybe as an organization who has partnered with the PacMtn youth provider in the past, and you're wondering about this RFP and what this one means, this proposal is for those WIOA youth services. So if you're someone who has partnered with the PacMtn WIOA youth contractor in the past, this is the application to be that provider and provide those WIOA services. If that makes sense. Does that clarify for anyone who was confused, or maybe you weren't and it's just reiterating, but perfect. There were a couple more questions that came in. I'm trying my best to do them in order, everybody, so hang tight. Corinne, it looks like Wade asked, I don't see the 14 elements of service listed or referred to in the RFP. Are these not the same expectations for this service cycle?
No, they will be the same expectations. And we could put that, the 14 elements, or at least a link to it in the FAQ.
Would that help, Wade? Perfect. Looks like Jewel asked, who are the WIOA contacts for North Pacific County, please?
Well, currently our provider is Equus. I would lean on Charlie to give or Dan to give a specific contact for North Pacific. I would assume that we only have one case manager that handles most of Pacific County.
Yeah, Corinne, we can add Patty Gedker's contact information in the chat, if that'll be helpful.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks, Charlie.
Sure thing.
And it looks like Matt has invited anybody to connect with Charlie directly about that too, if you have more questions later.
Yeah, that's great.
So that's all I've got from the chat for the moment. And if I missed you, please tell me if I scrolled past and didn't see.
Well, there's opportunity for additional questions that you can send in to the contracts at email, and we will continue to add those to the FAQ and post those publicly. Okay.
Oh, thanks, Jessica.
Yeah.
I figured it'd be easier to unmute than to type this whole question out.
Please do, yeah.
We were curious about what the percentage of expectation might be of availability at a workforce location versus offsite services. Is there an expectation that the program is housed at the work source more often than offsite, I guess is the best way to put it?
You know, I don't have a specific percentage in mind. I think the most important thing is the youth, especially rural and remote youth, especially youth with barriers, are being served. Whether that is inside of a work source or outside of a work source is less important. It's about the service delivery and making sure that that's impactful. As long as the contractor is aware that work source is how, it's the brick and mortar and how we deliver services at this time, and there's still an obligation of our Title I contractors to be a part of that system. But that doesn't necessarily mean it needs to be a percentage of time spent in a building. Work source also encompasses 29 connection sites across the region. So, how do we utilize those sites to make sure that we're doing the best that we can to provide services to the youth that need it?
We've also all, I'm sure, like many of you, faced a technology silver lining of the COVID-19 pandemic in terms of what that means to connect with youth. And in some ways, that's really helped us move our thinking forward and engage our curiosity around what that looks like for increasing service accessibility as well. So as you're all working with youth, any creativity or any innovation that you've bumped into, we'd love to hear about too. Oh, I see one in the chat. Anthony says, hello, for budgeting purposes, is there a partner share agreement or specific facilities cost for staff to work at the centers?
Yes, so there is a facilities cost for staff that are on site. We have an infrastructure funding agreement and cost sharing agreements that kind of lay that out. Our affiliate sites, it's based on the staff that you have on site. For the comprehensive site that is Thurston County, there's additional costs for the resource shared space as well. And I think what might be helpful is linking if we could somehow get the IFA on the website, and then folks can kind of link to that and see what that commitment is.
Would that get you what you need, Anthony, for that one?
Yes.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, I'm not seeing anything else come through on the chat. Let me know if I'm rushing. Don't be shy. We've got plenty of time for questions. We'd love to hear them. Also, if you need a little more time to think and send them in later too, that's just fine as well. We'll keep an eye on that email to get questions posted later. And we'll always let you know when we get your email right away and when we anticipate that they'll be posted. So you'll have all that info too if you need it later. So it looks like one more from Cheryl with Grace Harbor Youth Works. Fire away, Cheryl.
Sorry about that. I'm just curious, like providing, well, we do internships and other people are doing work experiences. Due to COVID and the lack of opportunities with current businesses right now due to where they're at, what is your threshold of how many youth, in our case will be youth, that we can assist? Let's say I complete this and I say we can help 30 youth, and then it comes out that we were only able to help 10 due to the business's inability to take on interns due to unemployment rates being so high, and that they would probably want to use that position for a paid person on their staff or payroll instead of taking somebody in to give them work experience.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a huge concern of mine this year.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think here's what I can say about any performance targets that are set. We do set performance targets in the contract at the beginning of every year. And sometimes those are met and sometimes they're not for a variety of reasons. But you know, what we hope to do is make sure that we're in communication with our contractors along the way to know if there's reasons why things are harder. Internships are harder, work experiences might be more difficult. So while there's targets, we always try to work with a contractor to figure out, you know, what can be helpful to reach those targets, or why they might be more challenging given the current circumstances.
Okay. Because as you all know, like what our online programs that we created, would that count as providing experiences for these youth, for the information that we've attained and put together?
Well, they would count as services, not necessarily a work experience, because a work experience is a paid, you know, internship opportunity. But there, you know, are other touch points that can be taken for any services that you give to youth, including, you know, the online job shadowing experiences or informational interviews that you might do via Zoom, stuff like that.
Well, we actually created an online internship program, and it's of course based on social media, but we're going to use the business's platforms because it's all COVID safe, and the experience they get and being able to participate in this. Our feedback from our youth this past year has been tremendous on what it taught them and what other opportunities are available. And now that because of COVID happening, it is a wave of the future in possibly finding a job that way. You know, so that's why I'm thinking that this could work that way. But
I think I understand what you're asking, Cheryl. To make it a little more general, it sounds like you're wondering if a WEX opportunity or a paid internship opportunity were available virtually.
Correct.
Would that count as a WEX or an internship, given that it's COVID time and maybe businesses would be more likely to take on a virtual intern than an in-office intern? Does that sound kind of like what you're asking?
Yes, it is. Thank you, Jackie.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I think that we've had some opportunity for virtual internships. It really does matter, though, the kind of supervision that's still going to be given. There needs to be some sort of employer involvement. It needs to, you know, be a learning opportunity, something that might be on their individualized education and employment plan. You know, there's certain things that work experience, certain obligations from both the employer and the participant that needs to happen. So as long as those obligations are being met and the learning's happening, I think that there's ways to be flexible in how that happens.
Okay, thank you. We do have that.
Okay. Nothing else in the chat. What do you think, everybody? Is there more we're curious about? Are we good to go for now? Am I being a extrovert pained by silence that needs to reel it in? Is that? You can always tell me to reel it in.
I'm an introvert, but I still find Zoom silence more awkward than, like, you know, face-to-face silence.
Oh, it's the worst. But
Well, all right. Thank you, everyone. Like I said, there's still opportunities to ask questions as you go along through the RFP if you need to. But I appreciate spending time with you this afternoon.
Thank you, Corinne. Thank you, Jackie.
Yeah, thank you all so much for coming.
Have a good day.
Have a great day.
Have a good day.
Bye.